The summer I was 8, the old house on the hill wore lilac like a shawl and kept its breath in the kitchen sink, as if a patient creature paused there between meals and endings. I learned to listen to it the way a child learns to listen to a mother's slow heartbeat. Not with fear, but with a kind of reverent, wanting attention. The world outside that porch rustled with the summer's heat, but inside, time behaved as if it were tired and fable-ready, ready to tell us a story we would not understand until we slept and woke to its consequences. Grandmother called it a house that remembered. She did not speak of ghosts exactly. She spoke of memory, as if memory wore a bonnet and a shawl and kept company with the dust. In those days, we believed there were situations for prayers and songs and the small rituals that keep a house from wandering away with the wind. Our ritual was simple, and I think, in retrospect, where we learned what fear would later become. After supper, we gathered around the table, drew a chalk circle on the varnished wood, lighted a lamp, and spoke into the circle the name of Mara, the cousin who vanished that very summer. A thin, pale thread that might tug at the room if the air remembered to listen. The circle's chalk had to be even, a perfect pencil of memory, and we had to say the name Mara thrice, as if to coax her back from a dusk we could not see but could only sense. The grown-ups said it would not bring her back, not in the body, nor in the world that kept us alive, but it would keep her from wandering forever through the hall where the thumb of winter sometimes pressed its cold hand. We were told to breathe with the house, to be gentle with its corners, to leave a little room for Mara in the breath between our words. We believed it, because belief is a line you can hold to during a heat-since withdrawal afternoon, when the air itself seems to cough dust and lilac. That first summer, Mara's name came to the room as if the air had learned it from the wall and whispered it to us through the peehole. The clock in the hall ticked with a patient rhythm that made my bones feel old in a way a child should not feel old. Not heavy exactly, but full of expectancy, as if the clock waited for something it already knew would happen. I began to hear a voice in the pantry. A voice so quiet it might have been the sugar bag sliding across the shelf, or the mouse's sigh behind the baseboard. I told myself it was a fancy of a tired child's ears, nothing more. But the house remembered more than Mara's name. It remembered the creaked floorboard that always left a different hollow under my bare feet when I walked to peek at the kettle on the stove. It remembered the way the window's glass caught the afternoon light and showed me a face not my own, a girl with Mara's hair, standing with her hands pressed to the pane as if the glass could bear her weight if she pressed hard enough. The faces came and went around the corners of the house, gliding, twinned with the air's old breath, and when I whispered Mara's name, the house answered by drawing me a little closer to Mara's face, to Mara's quiet, unspoken sorrow. As if Mara's sorrow were a moth that found its way into the grain of the wood and forgot how to leave. In those days, Mara did not vanish so cleanly as a disappearance in a newspaper. She wandered in the corners of the rooms, yes, but she also stayed not in the garden or in the street, but in the walls, in the wallpaper's spirals and the corner where the ceiling met the doorframe. The house learnt to hold the memory of her like a mother holds a child who cannot be kept by a leash of time. And I, a child with a heart too full and a chest too small for what the air carried, learned to listen as if Mara's breath could be heard if I listened hard enough. Decades passed. The grandmother who taught me to listen grew frail, and the old house, which had always seemed to me a patient thing with a long memory, began to shrink in the corners of the town's mind, as if it itself wished to vanish from the map and keep its secret intact. I left the hill for the town's dust and noise, and I carried Mara with me, like a letter I never dared to post. Now I am old, and the house on the hill is mine again, in the sense that the city's exhale no longer pulls me toward it with the same hunger, and I return to settle a few papers, sort a few memories, and gently close the door that had never quite closed for me in my childhood. The lilac still wears the same bruised purple in the summer, and the porch light still flickers with a slow, deliberate malice that says, in its way, that it knows I am coming home. I tell myself that I have come to bring Mara back to the daylight, or to lay her to rest where the living might forget her name. But memory, I have learned, is a patient thing and a stubborn one, and the house is a patient and stubborn witness. I am careful to begin anew the old ritual, though it feels ridiculous and almost shameful to repeat a game that once belonged to a baby's world. The circle is drawn with the careful, practiced hand of a life spent listening, and the lamp's flame seems to lean toward Mara's name with a conspiratorial tilt. We speak it, and the air tastes of old rain and sugar, and something else that is almost a word, but too tender to form. The signs come slowly, as they did in my childhood, only now they come with the inevitability of a storm pressing on the hull of an old ship. A sound that should not exist slips through the walls, a footfall in the attic where there is no attic, a soft sigh behind the pantry's door that isn't driven by the wind, a clock's pendulum tapping a rhythm that seems to come from inside the house rather than from any wall-length mechanism. The photograph in the dining room, the one of Mara as a child with the missing cousin's eyes, lingers in a way that feels accusatory, the eyes following me even as I move. The house knows what I did or did not do. It knows what I forgot to forgive. The air grows thicker with the scent of rain inside a barrel of old memories, and the circle glows with that pale green the lamp sometimes takes when a memory nears. Then comes the night when Mara's name escapes the circle's boundary, not as a request, but as a claim. The rune's temperature shifts, as if the house itself leans closer to listen, and the mirror in the hall, not to be trusted, as mirrors never are in such stories, shows the doorway behind me, as if there were another world pressing through it. A world of pale daylight, and a girl's hair caught in the latch of time. The voice, my childhood voice, speaks through the walls, clear as when I was 8, and certain the house spoke in the language of a family's secrets. It says nothing cruel, nothing you could call violent, but it speaks with the authority of a truth you've avoided for too long. The attic's trunk, long sealed with the stubbornness of a child's